I want to break down the entire cold email outreach for agencies in this post. We'll look at why cold emailing is so effective, especially in generating high-quality leads for your agency. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is why we believe in cold email outreach and why we think it may be an effective growth tool for building your agency. Before setting up chatammo, we ran an agency for the best part of 4 years. During that time, particularly when starting the agency, cold email was one of the main ways that we were able to get new clients for our agency en masse. We had also tried running ads using funnels, organic, you name it, but cold email always seemed to work and was a successful way to gain new clients economically. I'm sure you have had the same experience, where you get one client, but you still need to constantly spend more time trying to fill your pipeline in case one client leaves, putting you back to square one. It can very quickly spiral into a catch-22 situation. You begin to travel on a merry-go-round of spending time looking for new clients while still servicing your present clients. I constantly had to run ads and create budgets for gaining new prospects. It was at this point I started to experiment with cold email outreach. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of our cold email strategy, I wanted to say I have nothing against ads. We continue to use them and get great results, but I wanted to show some comparisons between the two and how to gain more success for your agency with an excellent cold email outreach in place. When you are about to run ads, one thing to bear in mind is that you will always need a larger budget. However, it is more than possible to get great targeting with ads. The new interest finder inside chatammo has become even more accessible. Still, you might find the pool you are fishing in is relatively small. Yes, you can target business owners, but not all of them might be on social media. We often found that we got leads who weren't as qualified as we would like or weren't a good fit with what our agency offered. This situation was made worse when we had to take our leads through complicated sales funnels. In an ideal world, we wanted people to pre-qualify. And unfortunately, this often meant spending more money to distill those leads down. Ads could also be challenging to troubleshoot. If something weren't converting correctly, we would have to try and break down the problem, which could be any number of things such as copy, creative, landing page, targeting. We fixed one of the most significant variables by adding our chatammo system to our ads, which meant we were no longer fighting with sales funnels. Another thing that we noticed with ads was it was a lot more challenging to establish trust with them. When you have somebody just clicking on an ad, that is the only form of engagement unless you were adding your chatbot. But even then, you get many tire kickers, along with low show rates on calls. Growing your agency with cold emails. So why cold email compared to ads? Firstly, it is easier to get similar results on the way smaller budget. Let's assume you want to spend $1,500 a month on an ad campaign. We'll go over the math in a second. Still, we might be able to get the same number of meetings booked for around $150 to $300, if not less. We may also be very targeted with email campaigns. When we build our lists and generate our prospect lists, it would only be the correct leads. A cold email outreach has been incredible when finding clients and customers at a much lower cost. Do you know who to target? So we have some control over the targeting, for better or worse. We can make sure that the person we're connecting with is at least qualified enough to answer questions because they're in our field, and is most likely a decision maker. It's also a lot easier to optimize because with cold email, really, we only have a couple of different variables that we're looking at. We've got our subject lines. We've got our email copy in general. Then we've got some more minor technicalities to make sure that the campaign or email address is warmed up enough. Maybe a few more things, but we don't have many variables to test. However, it's usually quite simple to identify the differences between them. So, in other words, it's a lot easier to get it right the first time than it is with advertising. After that, cold email mastery begins to come easy. The second thing I'll say is that when leads call us through cold email to make an appointment, they're far more qualified because we can personalize the email and make it an excellent fit for your prospect. I want you to ask yourself this question when you responded to an email the last time: why did you respond? Well, I'm guessing you needed what the email promised to solve, which is what you are getting with cold email outreach. You can be in that person's inbox at the right time. The individuals who come through as a result of cold email have concerns, seek a solution, or are actively searching for an answer to their problem. So they're highly qualified prospects, since they're proactive and aware of a problem and actively seek to address it. That is why they have responded to your email, and when we craft the messaging, we can hone in on the precise pain points. It allows us to connect with them more profound and discover the businesses who require our services, making closing calls easier. The other thing is that we can now personalize our emails. And in a future module, we'll look at how we customize each of our emails to start the connection on a more personal note. Each person who receives an email from us feels as if an actual human is addressing them, and there's someone on the other end. When they click and respond to us, we're in a far more trustworthy position than with an ad. They have no idea who we are with an ad. But with email, our audience has already expressed trust. Cold email can be easily scaled and automated. So you can do it very quickly because all we need is somebody to help us generate our lists, and maybe somebody to help us with personalization if that's something we want to work towards. Compare that to your ads, and if you aren't doing it yourself, you might have to hire an ad buyer and a media manager to do all of it, which could become costly, especially if we don't have much money for ads. Aside from the $1,500, we must invest in advertisements. So before we know it, we're already spending more than $3,000 when compared to cold email, which can have everything up and running and automated for less than $1 per contact. So, once you start to break out the numbers, it makes sense. And that's precisely what we'll do here, because I want to call attention to the difference. I believe that most businesses or agencies attempting to create more leads, for example, have a particular amount of ad spend. So for this example, let's say that you have an ad spend budget of $1,500, bringing you around 125 leads. This is a pretty average conversion rate of 15%. So let's say that it has cost us $12 per lead, so that is $12 for each person we have brought to our funnel, and then we have around a 4% conversion rate, which takes the price up to around $300 per call. Now from here, you will always have some dropout rate, so to be on the safe side, we will say a few dropped out, so your cost per call has gone up to $500. But let's say that you are a great closer, and you will be able to close 40% of these calls, which would bring you one sale. Depending on what you charge per month, you could have easily spent your entire first month's budget to get that one client, which isn't too bad as, of course, you will have that client for a while. But it could be better. If you had linked your ads to a chatbot, then you would have gained a lot more closes. We have found around 400% more. Now let's look at cold email. So, for example, you can spend a total of $35 on a list that has been prepared by someone else. So if we needed to generate leads in any industry for ourselves, this is where the money would go. So if we want to acquire 500 contacts, all we need to do is multiply that by 5. Then we might want somebody who can help us with personalization, or you could do it yourself, which, when starting, I would suggest. Still, the approximate price for help would be around $65 for 100 contacts. Our open rates are around 50 to 65% on average, sometimes a bit higher to 70%, which indicates that we're getting a decent number of these people to open up our emails. And we will get a positive reply rate of around 10%, because our subject line will create curiosity. That gives us 10 people who either want to book calls or more information. So, to make life easy, we will say that 6 people have booked calls. And the thing is, because these people respond to an email, and we're having an actual conversation with them before they come to the call, we have a much higher show rate. So we've got excellent numbers of this because when they reply to our email, replying to a real person, they're not filling out a form. Yes, they're contacting us, and we can reply. We can then figure a time that is good for both of us. One crucial point is that we aren't sending them to a calendar link. Instead, we have a conversation with them via email at first, and can go back and forth to find out what works best. And because they are talking to a person via email, it makes it more challenging to say no, rather than just a link they clicked and never be seen again. This means our cost per call has come down to around $20 instead of the $500 we paid for our ads to a landing page. And if you keep the same closing rate, you will be making much more money, which means you can outspend all of your competitors. That's one of the reasons why cold email is so appealing to us. It allows for a lot more room for error. We can hone in on everything much more quickly with this approach. It's just more scalable as well. So to summarize, the reason why we like cold email is that it is less expensive. Because we don't have to worry about ad creativity, we can get it up and running a lot quicker. In addition, we won't have to worry about ad copy. We don't have to build a funnel. All we're doing is generating a list, getting the email copy written, and sending personalized emails in a matter of minutes. We can also fine-tune our campaign. So, after a few campaigns, we'll usually discover that our offer needs to be modified. If we need to adjust anything independently, we can achieve the outcomes we want far more effectively. The best part of it is that much of this cold email process may be outsourced and completed by someone else. In summary, what were you in a nutshell? All we need to do to make cold emailing work is figure out who we're looking to target. We create the list. So we'll go over how to make lists in the following module. So it's a pretty quick and straightforward 5-step procedure. 2 or 3 of those are, I'd say, 5 to 15 minutes in duration. You do not have to please algorithms or rely on chances to get new clients by using cold email outreach. Every prospect you reach out to is a potential client. And everyone that replies, you are catching when they need help. That's huge because advertisements, technically speaking, may accomplish the same thing. Nevertheless, there is no commitment on their part. It indicates that they are dedicated and prepared to move forward, making them far more likely to close for us when they respond. It also starts a sales process in a more natural position, since you don't have to waste time determining if they understand what we're talking about.